Welcome to this AIMS video guide for the Department for Communities Grants portal. We're going to look at the application process, an application form, and using the grants portal itself. I have logged into the system as the main contact for my organization. The organization was successfully set up by my chair or my executive director or director if I was a statutory body. I registered on the portal and requested to be linked to my organization, and that request was approved. Now I can look at the funding options available, the funding programs that are open, select the one I want to apply for, and open an application form. To view the funding programs, I click on the icon, the piggy bank icon at the top of the page, funding icon. That takes me to this page, Community Empowerment Division. I click on the button to find out what programs are available. I can see that we have areas at risk and the Neighbourhood Renewal Revenue Scheme or program. I select Apply Now. As I am registered with one organisation, it will automatically open the application form for me. We can see the form has opened on the Contact Details tab, the first of a series of tabs that I'll be required to complete information as part of the application process. There is some summary guidance here on the process and the deadline for submitting your application. We have some buttons to look at here. You can see I can generate a PDF at any stage of my application form. I can return to my inbox at any stage as well. Now let's look at the form itself. Under the Contact Details tab, we can see it's pre-populated some information, an application ID, the program I am applying to, name of my organization, and I can start to look at the other data fields. Does my organization have any other previous names? No. Who is the chair of my organization? This is a mandatory field, as indicated by the red asterisks. When my organization was set up, it was not a statutory body. That field has appeared grayed out here as I can't change that value now. The contact person for the application, it has pre-entered my registration details as Steve applicant. There are other fields for me to complete. I need to add in my phone number and a second point of contact. So we can see here there's a telephone number was required field. Also for another contact name, the name, telephone number and email address. For the purpose of showing how mandatory fields are required to be completed, I'm going to remove this email address. When I come to submit my form, I will get notification about which fields have been omitted. I'll leave that blank for the moment. Save draft. Save draft and continue, save draft and exit. 3 different options here. I can save this draft to the page that I'm working on at any stage. There is also an auto save facility, which means that anything I enter within this form is automatically being saved when every 2 minutes, and also as I move between different tabs within this form. So you can see here the next tab is about the proposal. Then there's questions about partners, project outcomes, policies and procedures. I can choose to look at any of these tabs in any order. As I move between tabs, again, the form will save automatically. But having completed these data fields in the mandatory data fields, I click Save Draft and Continue. This will move me to the next tab in this form. You can see the mandatory fields here again, indicated by the red asterisks. To start with, I will enter my project title. Up to 500 characters and the character count here to show how that's progressing. I'll enter some text into my project description field. Again, we can see the character count indicating how many characters are remaining. Which area will this project take place in? Another mandatory field. I select an area. This will automatically select the Department for Communities office. It's pre-populated. The program dates. I use my date picker. To select my program dates. And the end dates. Is this a collaborative project? This is a data-driven field. If I select no, nothing else appears on this page. When I click Save Draft and Continue, it will take me to the next tab in my form, the Collaborative Consortium Partners tab, and here it now says section is not relevant, please proceed to the next section. Let's return to about this proposal and change our answer. We can see the form was saved as I move between the tabs. This is a collaborative project. Enter the name of my consortia, how many partners. I'll select 2. Now click Save Draft and Continue. And we'll see that the Partners tab has now been activated. So this is where I can provide information about the partners in my consortium. And their address. These are subsections within the form. You can see I've selected that button to add a second collaborative partner. So under my tab for Collaborative Consortium Partners, I have subsections, tab 1, tab 2, and I can add up to 10 partners. This is partner number 2. Add partner button. If I select that button to add another subsection, we can see here I have collaborative partner 3. I actually only wanted to add 2 partners, So let's delete partner 3. I get notification. I do wish to proceed. And now I want to progress to the next stage of my application form. The next tab is Project Outcomes. And we can see here there are some links to guidance documentation, the Building Inclusive Community Strategy, the Programme for Government Outcomes. And this is where we select the outcomes that apply to my project. Each one of these fields is a mandatory question, or each one of these sections is a mandatory question, as indicated by the red asterisks. So I have to provide a response. In some cases that may be not relevant, or there may be several options for me to select. Once I've answered each of these sections, I can complete this form and move to financial and accountability information. Click Save Draft and Continue. For the purpose of this application form, and for the time being, the questions about estimated total project cost, request amount from the funder, and proposed sources of funding have all been disabled, as have the questions around salary costs, running costs, and program costs. These are no longer required to be entered into this form. We do have one question on this page that still appears as a mandatory question. Have you sought other funding for this project? If I select yes, I will be asked to provide the other sources of funding. You can see the contribution amount, select the day, period of funding end date, and confirm the status of that funding. And if I want to add an additional response line, there's an add button on either side here. Now we can see the first entry is there for local authority. I want to add in a second. Overwrite the date, use the date picker. In this case, I will say I'm awaiting reply. To add that to the response line. So now I have two entries under proposed sources of funding. If I click Save Draft and Continue, we'll move me to the next tab in my application form. And you see in this case we have salary costs, running costs, and program costs. All of those have a box ticked there to show that they are not required for this application. And we can skip those pages and go directly to Policies and Procedures. If you clicked Save and Next, it would move through each one of those tabs. Now that we are looking at the Policy and Procedure documents, we need to select which one of these apply to my project for each value. It can be in place, not in place, or not applicable. but each policy requires a value to be entered here. This last policy, I'll leave that as no value, again because I want to see what happens when I miss a mandatory field as part of my form submission. I move to the Declaration tab. Again, I could have clicked Save and Next, or click on the tab heading. It takes me to the final declaration. The approval of my chair, in this case the name and date. Now, as I'm on the last page or section of my form, I click Save Draft and Continue Now. I'll be shown where I have missed 2 questions. The first, I click on the number here, will take me exactly to that question. And this is where we omitted to add a phone number. You can add that now, rather than go through each of the tabs in turn. I will click Save Draft and Exit. It prompts me that I still have one more response to complete. I click on section 9.1. The Policies and Procedures tab, and we had a value here where we had left it at no value rather than selecting a value. Save Draft and Continue. Takes me to my Declarations tab again. Save Draft and Exit, or Save Draft and Continue from this point. Will prompt me to submit my form. This appears if I've answered each of the mandatory questions as required. I could submit that form now, or I could choose to exit. I can choose to generate a new PDF. Let's exit that form. Before submitting. So the option to not submit returns me to the application form to continue to make any changes that I might want to make. At this point, I want to return to my inbox. And we can see a number of things here. So at any point that I want to leave my application form as work in progress, again, automatic save is happening behind the scenes, or I can just click on the inbox. I can click Save Draft within the form itself. Click on the inbox to return to my dashboard, my home page, and I want to see now my upcoming tasks. I expand that menu. We can see I have a task to create and submit application in my task list. If I click on that task, I will be able to reopen my application. Once I have submitted my application successfully, that will disappear from my task list. I will receive an email notification to say I've successfully submitted my application with a PDF copy of the application form. If I look now under the My Applications dashlet, expand that, we can see I have the application ID. The status of my application is at draft. When I successfully submit my application, the application status will change to eligibility check. And from there, as my application progresses, that status will change periodically. Looking under My Applications, I can click on the application ID. This shows me a number of things. We can see the status of my application. I have not yet submitted this application, which is why it still appears as application entry. Once I submit the application form, the status will move to eligibility check. I can see a number of things at this point, the different stages that my application will proceed through. I could choose to cancel this application if it was a draft. So if I have started more than one application, I could choose to cancel drafts at this point. You can see under the Documents tab, we will have the form that I can reopen. As email notifications are sent, say on the submission of my application form, and a PDF of my submitted application form is created, they will also be added to the Documents tab here. I can look at the Summary tab of my application and see some headline information. Let's return to my inbox. That is the application process. Thank you.